name of your company and how you came up with the name of your company, if you can say that.
Dateio. Okay, so that was one of the toughest things we had to decide when we were starting. Yeah, we spent a lot of time on that. It's a mixture of, let's say, data, since we are a data company, and the core or the innovation we are bringing here is about data, and the first names of founders. So I myself, I'm Ivan, and another founder is Andre. So that's the mixture of first names and data.
Okay, and I hear that you and your team, you cooperate a lot with banks in the region on the retail side. I know that you're involved a little bit in the open banking area, or will be involved in the area, but maybe you can tell us a little bit about how you found working with banks, why they chose to work with your product, and what you've been able to offer them.
Yes, so our basic first customer, we have two customers. One are banks, and another customers are retailers. So we put it together basically to bring the end client of the bank some discount offers and say some vouchers, coupons, and loyalty programs. So of course we needed to start a cooperation with banks in the first place. Well, we were running around for more than 1 year talking to banks. They liked the idea, but still there was a problem that we were new on the market, unproven. And overall, this environment on fintech and innovation was not there yet. Nowadays, banks in our region have their programs, accelerators, or open days when they invite people with fresh idea and they introduce it. And that time, the toughest was to talk to someone, because they were not really open. There were not ways how to efficiently go to bank and tell them something. So at some moment we convinced someone in the bank that it's worth to try. We made a POC. It was nice, it worked. So within 4 months we launched it fully. So actually our first bank was the fastest so far. So since then we were not able to launch it that fast, and when you have first bank, then it starts to roll, and then you are able to show the reference, and now we are spreading, and yeah, it's growing.
Okay, but you've done very well with the banks because you're working with them in more than one country, even from what I understand.
Yes, altogether on Carling marketing, we work with 8 banks. Now we are growing across groups. For example, we started to work with 2 banks in Erste Group, and now they put it together, and now we are launching it across the whole group in Erste. And of course, with our second product, we work also with other banks, challenger banks on other markets, also fintechs, small fintechs, medium fintech. So now I would say, I think altogether we have something like 15 clients when it comes to financial institutions. So then we already see different dynamics, decision making and processes. Yeah.
So you mentioned that outside of the banking area, you also work with challenger banks, and you mentioned Bunq. We've been able to speak to Bunq in the past, and we're very impressed with their product. Can you tell us a little bit about your cooperation with Bunq and how you found it, where you got the contact details from, and how your cooperation has evolved, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very, very interesting cooperation, and I learned from that a lot myself. I mean, first of all, they were open just to think about working with us based on, let's say, cold call. You send an email and they say, okay, that looks interesting. They were willing to put some effort in that, so let's test it. So they tested it, and after that they decided, okay, it works. You delivered what you promised, so let's integrate it. And then it took them 2 to 3 months to integrate it, and that's it. I mean, not long decision process, very, very efficient also cooperation.
That would mean that you're in other markets outside of Central Europe now, because Bunq doesn't...
Yes, of course. With our second product, we are on Dutch market, or let's say more or less on European market, because Bunq is also enrolling clients from whole Europe. Also, we are in Poland. Yes, and slowly growing outside of the region.
Okay, we mentioned briefly earlier about your position as a startup, yeah, and obviously we've heard of the words soonicorn and scale up and what have you. We actually came up with a word in disruption banking called snailicorn, which we believe is the unique unicorns that come out of Europe. I'm hoping you're not a snailicorn, but perhaps you can tell us a little bit about where you are with your funding these days.
Yes, so of course we started with some friends and family and fools around, and then we were slowly funded locally. So we had Czech funding, then also one Slovak VC. Now in the last round, we put, let's say, together synergies with Erste Group, and they invested to us. So basically all our investors are at the moment coming from CE region, and they are pretty much focused on fintech, or let's say many of them are banks or they VCs. So it makes sense because they know what they do, what we do, so it makes sense to them to invest.
Okay, and how did you find them though? How do you find the organizations to invest in you?
Well, first, let me see.
You don't want to give away your secrets. Maybe someone else will come in and take the funding.
No, not really. I would say when I see many other startups, I would say they are more advanced in that. Many of them were, say, talking to hundreds of funds in Europe, across whole Europe and wherever. I mean, we try to use our network and to reach people we knew, and somehow to make some contacts on funds that invest in our field. But I would say that's not an easy task to, let's say, do it efficiently. So to be convinced that, okay, I told everyone relevant what we have. So that's quite difficult. And also that's maybe why we were funded still from our region, because here we knew already people, they knew us, and we were making the connections from previous connections, etc.
Okay, having spoken to you a little bit about your product though, and obviously we've been going through this very annoying pandemic recently, you mentioned that a lot of your product is based on people's shopping habits when they physically go into shops, and what they buy and how that's communicated back to the bank. People haven't been doing that so much recently. How has that affected your business model then?
Yeah, of course. We saw some decline, of course, let's say a serious decline, about like 50%. We hope and we expect to get back, but that's short term, of course, effect. In long term, I expect that it will help us, because pandemics learned a lot of people to shop online, to use card. In many shops, it was always repeated, please use card, do not touch cash. So maybe when I look back in 1 year, we'll be more advanced and more further than without pandemics. But in short term, of course, we saw a decline.
Okay, so when you're talking about cashless shopping, all I can think of is Sweden.
Yeah.
Are you exploring the Swedish market? Because I understand they'll probably be the first cashless society in Europe, no?
Not really. We are using, let's say, our position here, and in Sweden there are some other startups and companies. So always entering new market, at least in banking, it's a big thing. So when you compare it to B2C business, I think it's not that difficult than for us, because we are, let's say, outside of our region. There are totally different banking groups, so it's you need some local presence there. So from this perspective, we are aiming to other countries, not really Nordics.
Okay, so I understand the link with
from this cashless and cash perspective. We like Sweden, and I myself also. And most of us in company, we have always problems who pays for the lunch when they do not accept cards, because not many people are carrying cash anymore. At least when you just walk outside of the office for a few minutes.
Absolutely. So, Ivan, one last question. I wanted to ask you a little bit about your team. What kind of people have you got working? Are you on Python? What kind of technologies are you using to grow the product? Perhaps you could say a few words about the kind of chief technology officer in your business, what kind of technologies he's working with, and how you're finding talent in the Czech Republic under the coronavirus, obviously.
Yeah, actually, many companies were reducing their staff during the coronavirus. We were actually hiring a lot. So after we came back to the office, I saw like 4 new faces, physically new. So we basically have two parts when it comes to the product and the core of the company. So of course, it's some technology and IT, where we use Java and databases and quite standard framework. And also we have many people, we call them analysts. So they are basically data guys, people who understand data, clean the data, make the analytics for retailers, for us. So our very strong focus on data ourselves. And these are big two groups. And when it comes to hiring people, of course, situation here is not that, or was not that easy. I think now it's better, but still not really good. For many reasons, Czech Republic had the lowest unemployment rate, I think, in the world for the last years. And Prague is famous and Czechs are famous for their IT skills. So there's a lot of corporations have their some say IT development hubs. So it's a big pressure, and also with now openness and to work from home. So also a lot of people work for companies abroad, but still it's not easy. I think hiring good people will never be easy, and but once you have them, it works good. So at least they are here.
So just maybe while you're on the subject of hiring people, if people do join your team, what do you offer them? What kind of benefits, apart from obviously having maybe a good selection of Fintech understanding?
Yeah, I'm not.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I always offer them a lot of work. No, we do not really have corporate benefits. If someone is asking that, I openly tell them. For example, in Czech Republic, it's very famous, these meal vouchers. It's just in few countries. So it's basically just another form of money, and you can buy food in restaurant for that. And all corporations have it. And I'm always saying, once we start to offer it, I will not be here anymore. Because for me, it's a sign of corporate benefit. So yes, of course we have some small stuff, but since we are a startup, we have sometimes food in the office, of course, free coffees for free and this stuff. But I myself do not consider it as a benefit. So I find it normal. So.
Good. So I take it from what you're saying that you've also found the title of Chief Happiness Officer to be a little bit overplayed.
Yes, that's discussion with our office manager. She's really, she likes this concept, etc. And some focused person will solve your problems. I think you as a founder should think about it, care about it, listen to people, and to react somehow. But to really, if you realize you have some problem, to hire someone and tell him, okay, please solve my problem here, it's not really helping. And actually, this wave of chief happiness officers was here in Prague, I would say 3 years ago. And I see it slowly disappeared, because once you yourself as an owner, or let's say as a leader, are not willing to do anything, some hired person will not do it for you.
Very true, very true. Ivan, thank you very much for your time today with us. Hopefully we'll be able to follow what your company is doing in the next few weeks. We're very excited to hear what you're doing with Bunk and with Erste Group and all the other successes you've had. And Ivan, it's been an absolute pleasure. So thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you very much.